Before we begin, there's a few things that you should be aware of. If you're doing a SIMnet project that is auto-graded, always use the SIMnet project instructions and the start file in the SIMnet project area. That's what you see on the screen right here. It's really important that you get your instructions right from there. Secondly, if you're doing a project that is not auto-graded, such as pause and practice, we highly encourage that you use the instructions in the sim book rather than the printed book if you have it, because the sim book project instructions are always up to date. And then lastly, there are slight differences between Office 365 and 2019. The book and project instructions are written in Office 365, and where differences exist, they'll be noted in the project instructions or in the sim book. Okay, let's begin. Step 1 has us open up the start file. That's what you see right here. And if it opens up in protected view, simply double click the enable editing button so you can work with it. That completes step 1. Step 2 simply says to rename this particular file if you're instructed to do so. Otherwise, you can leave it as is. That's up to you and or your instructor. Step 3 says apply the text effects on slide 2. Now please note that I tend to go slowly because I'm trying to go the same speed as someone who's relatively new at this. I also have a printed version of the instructions. You don't have to have that, but it really helps as I'm going through this because I literally check off each item as I go through. So what I want to do is click on slide 2, and it says resize the title placeholder. I'm going to click towards around the edge of this title placeholder, and I'm going to right click as I'm hovering over the edge. And one of the choices is size and position. Now there are a couple different ways to get this format shape option. If you know a different way, that's fine. But I often do a right click. So I'm going to adjust the height and the width. The width is going to be 7.5 and the height's going to be 3. That looks pretty good. And with this still selected, I'll leave this open right now in case we need it. It says click the text effects button. Now this is really important to note. It's possible that the tab you want, while it looks shaded, at least it does on my computer, is not selected. So if I click that, then I get a whole host of options right here. And by the way, I could have also done the resizing right here as well, but I chose to do it down here. A couple different ways to do it. So in 3B, it says text effects, transform. Then it wants us to choose one towards the bottom called cascade up. So that's what I do. Then it says click the text fill button. Text fill wants us to choose that teal accent one, darker 25%. I've done this a few times, so I know where to go. If I didn't, I would literally just go slowly and hover over the colors till I found the right one. Then the text outline, that's exactly what you think it does, the outline of the text. I'm going to make that black background too. Looks pretty good. It says position the title towards the upper left. I'm just looking at the instructions. It's somewhere about here, so that's about where I'm going to put it. Then it says delete the placeholder text. I just click on the edge and then click the delete button. And that completes step 3. Step 4 says convert bulleted text to SmartArt graphic and modify the style and colors. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to display slide 3. I'm going to select all of the bulleted text. And I'm going to click convert to SmartArt button. So I'm on the Home tab paragraph group. I click convert to SmartArt. More SmartArt graphics. Once again, I've done this so I can go a little bit quicker. Process, and I can see the picture that's looking for, so I hover over it, increasing hours process. Looks good, click OK, and now it turns into a nifty SmartArt graphic. That completes 4E. 4D, it says apply the cartoon style from the 3D group. So I want to make sure that I'm on the Smart Art Design tab. I need to click down here. Here's the 3D group. It's one of these. I think it's the third one from the left. You'll have to check it out. See, it says cartoon. That works pretty well. Then it says select the 3 white shapes. Now how I'm going to do this is I'm going to click inside the first white shape, hold down the control button, click somewhere in the white space in the second white shape, and then the third white shape, all the time holding down the control button. Now I can release it because they're all selected. And I need the shape fill drop down button. And if you don't see it here, click on the format tab, shape fill. Wants to select tan, text 2, lighter 60. That looks pretty good. Next, it says select 3 arrows. Same process. Click somewhere in the green space on the first arrow. Hold down the control button. Still holding the control button. Click on the second and the third. That looks good. Click the text fill drop down. Choose the right color. We're going to call that a win. That completes step 4. Step 5, modify table formatting. Let's head over to slide 4. And we need to select all of the text. I should say we need to select the table on the left. So what I can do, I'm going to click back out of it for a second, just show you how I did this. I'm going to click somewhere inside it, and it selects this table, 2-column table on the left. And now I'm going to head up. I'm going to make sure that I'm on one of the 2 tabs here. In this case, we need the table design tab. And on the left, you should have header row selected and bandit row. And it shouldn't be anything else selected. And then we need to click on the More button over here, Table Styles. And we need to make sure that we select the right one. There's a whole bunch of medium ones that look very similar, and you can get tripped up. Make sure you're selecting the correct one. It's Medium Style 2 Accent 1. You're going to be doing the same thing for the second table in a minute, but just follow along. It says select all the text. I'm just highlighting all the text in the first row. And we're going to turn that. We're going to use this text fill button up here. Wants black background too. Nice. That looks good. Now we're going to do the repeat over here in this table. So I'm going to click somewhere inside this table. Header row, bandit row. More button, being sure to get the Medium Style 2 Accent 1 Teal. Need to select all of the text in there, including those parentheses, quotation marks, I apologize. And text fill. Just click somewhere else so I can see that they look the same. And that completes step 5. Step 6, insert a new slide after 4. So I'm on slide 4, so I go up here to new slide, little drop down arrow, and it wants us to choose title and content layout. I click it, and now you have a new slide. That completes step 6. Step 7, going to create a bar chart. So we're going to select title 5 here, or select slide 5, and in the title area, I just click inside it, and it wants us to put in starting salaries, comma, selected jobs. Don't put the period. And then down in this area right here, the content placeholder, you should see some quick links that are grayed out, and it wants us to choose the insert chart button. Then it wants us to use a clustered bar. So I'm going to click on bar, and it will most likely be the first choice, but you can click on the other ones to see what it's asking. Here it wants a clustered bar, and that looks pretty good. I'm going to click OK. And in a second it should populate. Then it wants us to remove column C and D. So I'm going to be hovering over the C. I'm going to highlight, and then I'm going to drag it over to D. And then there's a couple different ways you can delete. I'll simply right click here, delete. That deletes all the information. And then it's going to ask us to put in this information. Please go slowly here. I'm going to make this just a little bit bigger because we're going to be adding a few more lines. And then I'm also going to do one other thing. You can do this later, but I'm going to click in between the A and the B, and the B and the C, and I'm going to drag them a little bit bigger. You're going to see why in a minute, because we're going to have to put in some information. So it's asking us to type in all of that information. So just give me a minute here and I'll do that. And then I hit the tab button to go over to the next one. You don't have to put the comma in there. I'm going to click into, I guess that's A3, and then continue putting in information. If you get an error right there, you just click OK and then keep putting in information. It will work. I'm going to click OK and just continue putting in the information. Just going to lock that in place, click somewhere else. I'm going to quickly look over these numbers because this program will mark you off if you are wrong by even one. That looks pretty good. And finally it says close the worksheet. Step 8. It says to delete the Series 1 chart title and legend. And by the way, if you still have this Fort chart area open, format chart area, I'm just going to X off that. We can always get back to it. I'm going to click on Series 1, click delete, and then down here in the legend, click on it and then hit delete just to clean this up a little bit. It says click on the chart frame to select the chart area. And I made this a little bit bigger. Let me make this smaller again. There we go. That'll help us. I'm going to make sure I'm clicked on the chart area, the outside. If you click inside, you're going to be working with individual pieces, and that will not be good for this particular exercise. So I'm on the outside, and then it says change the shape fill to teal accent 1, darker 50%. Head over to format, shape fill, accent 1, darker 50%, excellent. 8D says the chart area width, change the chart area width to 12. And I'm still in the format area on the right-hand side. Use the up arrow to make that 12. Then the align button, and this is a good feature to know. Watch this. When you click align center, it bops it over to the center, cleans it up, looks professional. Select the vertical axis right here. I'm going to click somewhere. Let me click somewhere outside of that, of the entire chart, and then click back in. Okay. And then I can see that all of this has little dots around it. And what I want to do is change all of this to 18-point font. A couple different ways you can do that. I'll go up to the Home tab, just easier for me. Click 18. Then I'm going to click down here. You might have to double click it if that happens. Sometimes you have to click off it and back into it. There we go. Click on one of the numbers. You can see little dots around. It might be hard to see on the video. Little blue dots in all four corners. That means the horizontal selected, home, 18-point fonts. That looks good. And that completes step 8. Step 9. It says insert a new slide after 5. So 5 selected, I go up to new slide on the Home tab. It wants to do title and content layout. And that completes step 9. Step 10, create a pie chart. So we need to be on slide 6. In the title, click on employee job. Then down in the placeholder area, I'm going to hover over the insert chart, click on it. It wants us to choose pie 3D, which is probably the second choice, but make sure that it is for you. Once you like that you have it, click OK. Give it a second. And now we need to put in some data. I'll make this a little bit bigger so you can see it. And then it wants us to put in all of that information. Take your time. The very first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to make the columns a little wider. I'm not sure that you can see this, but in the sales area, it wants us to turn that into the word satisfaction %. Then I'm going to click in cell A2, type in very satisfied. Hit the tab button to move over, type in 15, and then I'm just going to fill out the rest of these. I'd like to take a quick look to see that I have everything spelled correctly. This program is very particular. And trust me, it will mark you off for misspellings and wrong numbers. I think that looks pretty good. I'm going to close out of this, and that completes step 10. Okay, we're on the last, or one of the last steps here. It's step 11. We need to drag the chart title, satisfaction %, to the left. Need to click on it, drag it somewhere over to the left. Now, step 11 can be a little bit complicated, so I'm really going to take my time here and make sure I get all the pieces correct, all the steps. So it says increase the font size to 24. I'm going to highlight in there. I'm going to go to the Home tab. 24, that looks good. That should complete step 11A. 11B, it says click the chart elements button. So I'm just going to click outside of the satisfaction area, somewhere in the black area, and there's a plus button. If I click on it, get a couple different choices. It says select legend and then right. So I hover over, I click legend, there's a little arrow there, I click on it, and I choose right. You can see how it puts the legend to the right. It says increase the legend font size to 20. I'm just going to click out of that there. Sorry about that. Click right. Okay, great. There we go. Just kind of double click on that. And I'm going to go to Home tab. Change that to 24 or 20, I'm sorry. Looking pretty good. It says next, drag the legend to the bottom right part of the chart. Now this happens a lot. You have a lot of stuff highlighted. So I'm just going to try to click back in here again and then hover over the edge and see what happens. There we go. That drags it down nicely. So if you move the whole thing, click out of it, click back in, and you should be able to get it. That completes 11D. It says next, click on the chart elements button again. Select data labels. Select inside end. You're going to see this in a second. There's a little arrow. If I click on it to the right of that, one of the choices is inside end, and you can see what happens. Good deal. Now I'm just going to click out of it. That completes 11E. 11F. It says click the chart elements list box arrow. So I'm going to get rid of this. And make sure I'm on the chart again. Need to be on the Format tab. And then we need to current selection group over here. There we go. I'm just reading the instructions multiple times to make sure I have it. It says select the series satisfaction percent. It's a little drop down area. Series satisfaction percent data labels. You can see that now it affects the data labels. It says increase the font size to 24 points. So while I still have them highlighted, I'll go to the Home tab. 24, I'll click B for bold. And if we did everything correctly, that should complete step 11. Step 12. It says click the blinds transition effect, transitions tab. And we want to choose blinds. Click the more button and I'll see all of my options right here. Can see blinds. Click apply to all. And then apply the zoom transition to 6. So I need to get the drop down again and then find the zoom. And it takes a minute. And that completes step 12. Step 13 says to save and close your presentation. Step 14 says to upload and save your project. And step 15 has you submit it for grading. Best of luck, everybody.